I often say on the channel the best thing you can do to spread Christian Universalism is join a local church that's open to the idea. And I often talk about how to, win churches that are they're open to universalism to a more universalist direction. But there are some churches in the United States that actually are already Christian Universalist, and I thought those were worth talking about. So if you do live near one, you can go strengthen them by, joining them. These are churches of all different denominations, and on certain issues, they do have different beliefs, but I leave that up to the conscience of the viewer to decide what's best for himself. But these are all Christian Universalist churches. That's the only churches I've decided to include on this list. So just churches that are Christian Universalist. You might be curious where I got this from. Well, I got it from a variety of different places. One was a website called biblicaluniversalism.com. They have something called the Evangelical Universalist Association. There was a bunch of very conservative Christian Universalist churches there. Then there's the Council of Christian Unitarian Universalist Churches. Though the Unitarian Universalist Church is mostly post-Christian, there is a very small minority of Christian and even Christian Universalist churches left in the denomination, and I thought those were worth talking about. Even though those churches have their problems, I definitely think they're worth saving. Then there's also, of course, the Christian Universalist Association. Definitely, they have a few churches. Definitely, I include those. Reddit was also a source. There's different Reddit threads. So there were some churches mentioned on Reddit. And then a website, a podcast called Church in Maine podcast I sometimes listen to. There were a few churches on there. And then the Love Unrelenting YouTube channel was a big help. He has several church trailers he's made for different universal churches. He also has on a bunch of pastors and stuff on that channel, and I just looked up where they preach. So this is just in the United States. International churches are a topic for another day. So yeah, definitely it's going to be interesting. We've got 31 states to go through, all different denominations. So without further ado, here we go. And do forgive me if I mispronounce the name of a town. I've never been to most of these places. First, in the great state of Maine, we have Grace and Truth Bible Church in Lynchfield, Maine. It's a non-denominational. I found out about them through Reddit. They are Christian Universalists and they're non-denominational. So yeah. Then in New Hampshire, we have the United Church of Winchester. This is actually a part of the Unitarian Universalist Church, but it's also a part of the United Church of Christ and a part of the United Methodist Church. It's the descendant congregation of the Winchester Church, Winchester Universalist Church, which is actually very important for the history of Universalism because the Winchester Universalist Church is where the Winchester Profession of 1803 was signed, which is like this incredibly important document in the history of American Universalism. It's actually my channel description if you're curious to go look at it. But it's very important. Unfortunately, the original church is actually in the hands of an evangelical congregation right now, which preaches eternal damnation. I actually looked on the website. I was curious. But the United Church of Winchester, definitely I think it's worth saving, even though it is a bit on the liberal side. But yeah, definitely check it out if you live near Winchester, New Hampshire. Then in Rhode Island is like the holy grail of Universalist states because it still actually has two very solid Universalist churches. First is First Universalist in Providence, Rhode Island, which is like the holy grail of Universalist churches. It's very solid, beautiful building. It is a part of the Unitarian Universalist Church, but it is not Unitarian. It's not Unitarian Universalist by any stretch of the imagination. It is a solid Christian Universalist church, great church, beautiful building in Providence, Rhode Island. And then Rhode Island also boasts First Universalist in Burleyville, which is actually right on the Connecticut line. Definitely worth checking out them too. They're definitely probably in more need of membership. I looked on their website and they said they're doing like fundraisers to help keep the building, help restore the building. So definitely check out those two churches if you live near them. Then in Connecticut, we have Congregational Church of Plainsville. And I think the most common denomination on this list is the United Church of Christ. And I've done a lot of thinking. I think the United Church of Christ is the true successor denomination to the Universalist Church. What I mean is that the Universalist Church, well, it came out of a variety of different denominations, but a lot of Universalist churches came out of the Congregationalist tradition, which is what the United Church of Christ is. And the United Church of Christ is very similar to the Universalist Church. In fact, they almost merged back in the 20s, the church that would become the United Church of Christ. So definitely the United Church of Christ has a lot of problems. It's the closest to a true successor denomination to the Universalist Church. So Congregational Church of Plainville is, I saw them on a video called Universalism in the United Church of Christ by Love and Relenting. So yeah, they're definitely a neat little congregation. Then Trinity Episcopal Church in Newport. I found out about them because David Artman, who's a Universalist, was giving a talk about one of his books there. So both of these churches would be good to go to if you're a Christian Universalist in Connecticut. Then in Massachusetts, we have First Church in Sterling, which actually Love and Relenting did a video on them. They are part of the Unitarian Universalist Church, the United Church of Christ, and the American Baptist Association. They seem to be pretty solid, very Christ-centered. And then First Parish Church in Berlin, Massachusetts, part of the Unitarian Church and the United Church of Christ. First Church of Deerfield, a part of the UU and the United Church of Christ. And then First Parish Church in Weston is a part of the UU and the United Church of Christ. All those are fairly liberal. I mean, it is Massachusetts, what do you expect? But still worth checking out. Then New York, in New York City, in Brooklyn, we have All Souls Bethlehem Church, which is a part of the United Church of Christ, the Unitarian Universalists, and the Disciples of Christ. There's also a church called Unity Presbyterian in Brooklyn, New York, but from Reddit, I heard they're open to Universalism, but All Souls Bethlehem Church is probably the better out of the two. Open Bible Fellowship in Brockport, New York, non-denominational, open to Christian, is Christian Universalist, so definitely worth checking out. And then Gaines Congregational Church in Albin is a United Church of Christ. I've looked at their stuff. They're part of the Christian Universalist Association. They seem to be pretty solid. I've watched some of their material. It seems like a nice place to go to church, so check them out. Then in Pennsylvania, we have First Universalist Church in Brooklyn, which is actually, to my knowledge, actually not an old Universalist church, but a new one, like a church plant. And a bit of a pet peeve, a lot of the churches on this list are non-denominationals, and I just don't understand why these non-denominational churches that are Universalists just can't call themselves Universalist. I think that would just make more sense. Of course, I'm all for reestablishing the Universalist church in some way, shape, or form. So credit to First Universalist in Brooklyn for actually doing that. So it's a new one. It's a part of the Christian Universalist Association, and it seems to be a good place to go to church. Then in Washington, D.C., we have Universalist National Memorial Church, which used to be the headquarters of the Universalist Church. It's one of the few old Universalist churches that did not go heretical. And it's pretty solid. Definitely a cool place to check out. It's in our nation's capital. And it's, it hasn't gone apostate, so good for them. Reverend Scott Wells preaches there. He does a blog and everything. Definitely seems to be a good place to go to church. So check them out if you live near DC. Then in Tennessee, we have Restoration Church in Cleveland, Tennessee. I'm a little bit jealous because I have a friend that lives in Cleveland, Tennessee. She's not Universalist, though. But Restoration Church is a part of the Christian Universalist Association. Then we have Hope Regular Primitive Baptist Universalist Church in Gray, in Tennessee. The Primitive Baptist Universalists are ultra Universalists, meaning they don't believe in hell at all. They just believe that everybody's predestined to salvation. Pretty much they're like Calvinists, but they just believe in full predestination opposed to like dual predestination. So yeah, but they're definitely probably better than most churches around. So they're Primitive Baptist Universalists, and then we have Holston's Primitive Baptist Universalist. And then Linwood Christian Church in Memphis, Tennessee. I know about them from the Church of Maine podcast. They are very open to Christian Universalism, it seems. I think the pastor is a Universalist. And they're part of the Disciples of Christ, which is one of the better denominations to join if you're a Universalist. Then in North Carolina, my own state, is First Universalist in Clinton. I live far away from both of these churches, but First Universalist Church in Clinton, which is on the eastern part of the state towards the coast, they're definitely a bit more on the liberal side of Universalist churches, but they're still Christian and still, I think, worth saving. First Universalist Church in Clinton, they're from the Washington Declaration of 1935, which is the last major document the Universalist Church made. And then St. Benedict's Anglican Catholic Church in Chapel Hill, which is towards Raleigh, is actually where Robert Hart, who's David Bentley Hart's brother, preaches. He's a priest there. So that's definitely worth checking out. The Love and Relenting channel actually has a trailer about them. That's how I know they exist. And they're the closest Universalist church to me. Definitely really cool. And I do find a weird parallel between the two because, First Universalist in Clinton's fairly liberal, and then St. Benedict's is fairly conservative. So that's of interest. And if you are curious, I did actually remake this video. I recently posted this video, and then I was just unhappy with it. So I decided to redo it, make it a bit better. So yeah. And then in South Carolina, we have Pauline Church of Christ. In Leesville, they are part of the Evangelical Universalist Association. That's very interesting to me because this is, to my knowledge, the only Church of Christ that is Universalist. There are Disciples of Christ, which are part of the same tradition. They're Universalists, but this is the only Church of Christ, which is very conservative, that is Universalist. So it's very interesting to see a Church of Christ be Universalist. It's in Leesville, South Carolina. Then in Georgia, we have Chapel of Love in Eaton, Georgia. They're part of the Christian Universalist Association. They seem to be pretty solid. And then we actually have Canon Universalist, which is a old Universalist church. I looked and it only has like 10 members, but from the photos I saw of the church, they had the Bible front and center and the pulpit, and it seems to still be Christian. It's one of the very few Christian Universalist churches left. It is a part of the Unitarian Universalist Church, but it is Christian still, and it only has like 10 members. So if you live anywhere near this church, please join it. I don't want to see it close. We've seen most of the old Universalist churches actually ended up shutting down. For instance, when I was making this list, I actually found an old Universalist church in Maine called Grace Universalist, and now it's a Greek Orthodox church, and that's not an uncommon story. You can find stories of Universalist churches that have been turned into all sorts of different things. So I don't want to see this church shut down. So if you live anywhere near Canton, Georgia, please attend. Then in Florida, we have Grace Gospel Church in West Palm Beach. They are part of the Evangelical Universalist Association. And for any of the churches that are part of the Evangelical Universalist Association, you can find their emails on biblicaluniversalism.com. So they're Christian Universalists in West Palm Beach. And then we have Inner Coverings Ministry in Valrico, Florida, which is Christian Universalist. It's a part of the Evangelical Universalist Association and the Christian Universalist Association. Definitely worth checking out, both in Florida. And then in Mississippi, this is the last of the historic Universalist churches I could find. It's Liberty Universalist Church in Louisville, Mississippi. It's a small little white church, a small little white country church. They say they believe in Universalism with a Southern flavor, so it looks to be a nice place to go to church. Definitely worth checking out. They're actually, to my knowledge, not a part of the Unitarian Universalist Church. They're just independent, but they are a part of the Council of Christian Unitarian Universalist Churches. I'm not quite sure how that works, but they are still Christian Universalists to my knowledge, and definitely worth checking out if you live in Mississippi. Then in Louisiana, we have Abiding Hope Fellowship in Baton Rouge. It's non-denominational, Christian Universalist. I believe I found out about them through Reddit. If I'm not mistaken, they're part of the Christian Universalist Association, though I could be wrong about that. Definitely worth checking out. Then in Texas, I got all these from the Evangelical Universalist Association. We have Bushland Community Church, Church of Pittsburgh, Harmony Church in Galveston, Open Door Fellowship in Fort Worth. All these are Christian Universalists, all non-denominational, all Evangelical Universalists, so definitely worth checking out if you live in Texas. Oklahoma, we have Welcome Table Church in Turley, which is the last of the Unitarian Universalist Christian churches. It's the only one west of the Mississippi. They seem to be a Christian and a part of the UU, so worth checking out, especially if you live in Oklahoma. Buckle the Bible belt, so good luck finding a Universalist church there. But yeah, worth checking out if you live in Oklahoma. Then in Arkansas, we have First Christian Church in Harrison, which is actually where David Artman preaches. He's a good Universalist minister in Harrison, Oklahoma. So definitely check them out. It's Harrison, Arkansas, I mean. And then Pulaski Heights UMC, so United Methodist in Little Rock. I found about them through the Love Unrelenting channel. Seems to be pretty solid too. Check them out if you live near Little Rock, Arkansas. And then in Missouri, we have Word of Life Church in St. Joseph, Missouri, where I believe it's Peter Zihan preaches there, if my memory serves me correctly. It's actually a fairly large congregation, believe it or not, and definitely worth checking out. And then actually a viewer recommended that St. Mary's Catholic Church in Independence, Missouri is open to Universalism. I don't think he said it was officially Universalist, but definitely it's open to Universalism. So, check out St. Mary's Catholic Church in Independence, Missouri. Then in Illinois, I'm glad I didn't say Illinois. That'd be the most southern thing ever. And this is the first of the liberal Catholic churches on the list. The liberal Catholic Church is it broke off from the Catholic Church in like 1870, so they have Catholic worship, but they're Universalist. Liberal in that connotation means like free thinker. There's another denomination called the Progressive Catholic Church. I'm not sure if they're officially Universalist, but if you are curious, they have a website, and you can maybe find a church near you. They have a map. So that's the Progressive Catholic Church. I'm not sure if they're officially Universalist, but the Liberal Catholic Church is officially Universalist. This is Church of St. Francis in Villa Park, Illinois. And then there could be another church in Illinois. Years ago, I can remember looking up finding a denomination called the Orthodox Universalist Church, and I could sworn they had a church in Chicago, but I can't find any reference. I couldn't find the website. I couldn't find anything about them. So maybe I just remembered something, or maybe they don't exist anymore. I'm not sure, but there may be a Universalist church in Chicago. I'm not sure. Iowa is St. Gabriel and All Angels in Fairfield, Iowa. They're a part of the Liberal Catholic Church. That's Christian Universalist with Roman Catholic worship. Um, then in Minnesota, we have First Christian Church in St. Paul's, which is part of the Disciples of Christ. The pastor there is Dennis Sanders. He actually runs the Church of Maine podcast. He is more liberal than I, so to keep that in mind. But he's not like a politically, I don't know. But he's pretty good on theology, I think. He is some form of Universalist. Definitely worth checking out. It's a small little church. I think it'd be a nice place to go to church. It's in St. Paul's, Minnesota. Check them out if you live near them. First Christian Church in St. Paul's. Then in Wisconsin, we have a Zio Church in Milwaukee. I know about them through Reddit. They are very political, but they are Christian Universalist. So do keep that in mind. They are definitely a more political church. But, if you do live in Milwaukee, check them out. Zio Church. Then in Indiana, we have St. John's Evangelical Lutheran in Millsboro, which I've said before, the Evangelical Lutheran Church, the ELCA, is one of the better denominations to be in if you're a Christian Universalist. They have a lot of congregations that aren't terribly liberal or liberal at all, and they are very open to Christian Universalism, so definitely worth checking out. They're part of the Evangelical Universalist Association, and I'm not mistaken, they're also part of the General Lutheran Church, St. John's Lutheran Church in Millsboro, definitely worth checking out. And then St. Andrew's Greek Orthodox Church in South Bend. If my research is correct, which I'm pretty sure it is, this is actually where David Bentley Hart goes to church. So definitely worth checking out. So they're also Christian Universalist. So yeah, they're Greek Orthodox. Then in Ohio, we have New Life Christian Center in Burpee, something like that. It's in Ohio, and I believe I found out about them through Reddit. Or no, it was the biblicaluniversalism.com. They're part of the Evangelical Universalist Association, non-denominational Evangelical Universalist, so definitely worth checking out. Montana, we have Zootown Church in Missoula. Oh, come on. Missoula. I sound so incredibly dumb. Missoula, Oklahoma. It's actually a very large congregation. They're becoming Greek Orthodox, if I'm not mistaken. That's kind of what I got. I watch some of their sermons sometimes. I think they're becoming Orthodox, but they are Christian Universalists still. Definitely worth checking out, and especially if you live in Montana. Then in Colorado, we have Sanctuary downtown in Denver. I never liked Denver. When I was there, I just saw a bunch of potheads. But, if you live in Denver, Sanctuary Downtown Church. There's also the House of All Sinners and Saints in Denver, which is ELCA, but they're very liberal. So I didn't see a point of including them since there was a more biblical church in Denver. And then St. Albert's in Greenlee. They're a part of the Liberal Catholic Church, so they're Christian Universalists in Greenlee, Colorado. So you check them out if you live near there. Then in New Mexico, we have Our Lady, Queen of Angels, and Rio Rancho. New Mexico, they are part of the Liberal Catholic Church, so they're open to they are Christian Universalists, so definitely worth checking out. Then in Washington, we have Simple Salvation Church of God in Spokane. They are part of the Evangelical Universalist Association, so conservative and Universalist, so worth checking out. And then St. Fotini Universalist Orthodox Church in Seattle is a Orthodox church, and it's also Universalist. They are more liberal, but they have Eastern Orthodox worship, and they're Christian Universalist, so definitely worth checking out in Seattle. So I hope you like rain. And then finally, our last state is California. Our Lady of All Angels in Ojai, California. And then St. Ralph's Liberal Catholic Church in Richmond, California. Both of these are liberal Catholic, both Christian Universalists, so definitely worth checking out if you live in California. And then denominations, the General Lutheran Church, they're fairly conservative, and they are Christian Universalist. The Christian Universalist Church of America is actually a new attempt at a old school Universalist denomination. They had a website last year, and pretty much what they said is that their headquarters in Indiana. I can't find a single one of their congregations. And the website also said they affirmed the Winchester Profession of 1803. So it looks like a promising new denomination, but I can't find anything about them besides their Wikipedia article, which is pretty much says it's a little Wikipedia article about them. So look at that if you're curious. Then we have the Liberal Catholic Church, which I just talked about. They are, Catholic worship and they're Christian Universalist. And then the Primitive Baptist Universalist Church, which is kind of a successor denomination in a way to the Universalist Church. They are ultra Universalist. They are mostly in Eastern Tennessee, but they exist in a few other states. I couldn't find all their congregations. I could only find 2. So definitely worth checking out. And that's about it, y'all. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please, if you know of any other Universalist churches, put them down in the comments below. I want this to be a resource for people. And I hope you found a church. If not, probably the best denominations are the ELCA, the United Church of Christ, and the Disciples of Christ. So the Disciples of Christ don't believe in creed, so you can't get them to join the Christian Universalist Association probably. It'd be very hard at least. But the United Church of Christ is quite liberal, though not every church is quite liberal. And then the ELCA is probably the best. Other churches, the United Methodist, well, they're changing a lot right now, so I can't say for sure. The Episcopal Church, Presbyterian, really all the old mainline churches. The Quaker Church is good. Some Orthodox churches are open to the idea. So I hope you found this video interesting. And I may make an international video at some point about international churches that are Universalist. But this was just about the USA. And, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And then I probably will remake this video in the future at some point. I'm hoping this list becomes obsolete in the sense that I eventually find out more Universalist churches so I can make a bigger list. Well, y'all have a good day. God bless. And, please, update. Please leave anything, any thoughts you have down in the comments.